Hey, this is Chris from Rekkid Talk, and so we're going to do sort of a thread response today. And so MGK Boston, Mike, the thread starter guy. So he started a thread where he kind of wants you to talk about albums you listened to when you were about 12 or 13. I'm going to kind of focus on the 12-year-old part, so I would have turned 12 in 1981. So as much as I would like to tell you that 12-year-old Chris from Rekkid Talk was listening to groups like Black Flag and the Gang of Four and Susie and the Banshees and Kraftwerk and X and like reggae and early hip-hop, that I was so cool that I was listening to all that stuff in 1981. I was actually a skinny little kid with no facial hair who lived in an isolated small town with no access to a real record store, and there wasn't even MTV yet. So now, unlike MGK Boston, I had youngish parents, so like the music from like the 60s and 70s was like their vibe. I didn't have older siblings, so of course some of my friends who like had older brothers would have their musical tastes sort of formed by that. Some other cool stuff that came out in 1981. We have like Mission of Burma with Signals, Calls, and Marches, and the Replacements with their debut, Sorry Ma, I Forgot to Take Out the Trash. But of course, I was blissfully unaware of these albums in 1981, in fact, for several years afterwards. And you'll notice that these are on the compact disc format, and commercially, compact disc didn't exist yet. I looked it up. I think they were introduced in Japan in 1982, Europe and United States in 1983, and I didn't get my first CD until 1989. I mean, I wasn't really even listening to metal or hard rock yet beyond Led Zeppelin. Now, some of my friends with, like, the older brothers were to a greater extent at that point than I was. And I was already over Kiss by that point. But so, of course, in 1981, I wasn't quite listening to Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or the Scorpions or even Van Halen. I don't even think I bought a cassette until about 1983. And then from about 1983 to 1989, I was pretty much an exclusively cassette format person. That was pretty much my teen years, because I judged that being able to listen to music anywhere, so in a car or with your Walkman or with like a portable boombox, was way more important than the music actually sounding good. And so the few vinyl albums that I had that I probably bought when I was about 12 years old or so, and I don't have any of the original ones. Some of them I've rebought and some of them I haven't, and I'll have to superimpose a picture of it. So one of them that I knew that I had, that I listened to quite a bit at that point of time, because I was pretty much listening to pretty much very commercial music at that point of time, and nothing that was too heavy yet. So there was REO Speedwagon High Infidelity, which of course was their big smash hit. MGK Boston showed it, so that's not one I've ever rebought. Now, one that I have rebought is Billy Joel Glass Houses. Now, so I had the youngish parents, as I said, like music from like the 60s and early 70s was kind of their music, but even like they had like a couple of the Billy Joel albums, like the 52nd Street one and maybe like the Piano Man one as well, and I didn't really like those albums, but this album rocked. Well, a few years I was going to have a different definition of what rocked meant. Of course, there were comedy albums. I was big into like Steve Martin when I was like 12, 13 years old. Some of the ones from the late 70s, like A Wild and Crazy Guy. And then, of course, 1981, the year I turned 12, there's like the Steve Martin Brothers. And so the problem with this album was, okay, one side of the album, Steve Martin's telling jokes. The other side of the album, he's playing the damn banjo. And I can tell you, when I was 12 years old, I didn't want to listen to anybody playing the damn banjo. I wanted to hear people telling stupid jokes. Now, I will tell you that when I re-listened to this album as a man of advanced age that I am now, I think I actually like the banjo music more than I like his jokes at this point of time. And, of course, there was Queen's The Game. Well, it came out in 1980, but that was something I remember I listened to a lot when I was about 12 or so as well. I mean, another one, Bites the Dust and Rocket Prime Jive, those sorts of songs. And then, of course, there's Pat Benatar. So this is not actually the album I had when I was 12. I actually had, so this was Crimes of Passion from 1980. I actually had Precious Time from 1981. I remember being disappointed because Precious Time didn't have Hit Me With Your Best Shot on it, which of course this album does. This is one that I actually picked up for $2 a few years ago. It still has, it's kind of losing it, but it still has like the original shrink and the hype sticker. And of course, the 12-year-old me was never, ever, ever going to keep his hype stickers. So, but anyway, so I know I showed a lot more than 5 albums, but really the 5 you should be thinking of as the ones I was actually listening to in 1981 were the REO Speedwagon, Billy Joel, High Infidelity, Billy Joel Glass Houses, Steve Martin comedy albums, Queen The Game, and Pat Benatar, Precious Times, but I really wish I had Crimes of Passion.